Hello, it's Sideshow. If you're not familiar with me, I'm an analyst for the Overwatch League, but I've been spending a silly amount of my time getting really in-depth with the Valorant scene as well. I enjoyed watching the PAX Invitational, and I've been thinking about making analytical videos for a long time. I've got like 30-something scripts written up, but I've just never gotten around to it, and this game just intrigued me so much, and I was so impressed with how the Sentinels played. It's probably, for my money, the best team in North America at this exact moment in time in terms of their strategic play and also in terms of their fragging, that I felt inspired to make this as my first video. So let's take a look. Let me set the scene for you guys a little bit. This is the quarterfinals of the PAX Invitational, but it's two teams that are really right up there in terms of North America. Sentinels have been making large improvements recently. Interestingly, they're a team that doesn't have a coach, but they're one of the most strategically deep teams that we have in North America, which is generally a very puggy region. TSM have been the #1 team in North America, basically off the back of Wardell's AWPing, but also because Sabrosa and Drone are really nutty fraggers as well. And they've kind of innovated on this meta that we've been seeing develop in North America. A little bit of a side tangent here, Sentinels have kind of gone backwards, or not backwards, but away from the NA meta, more towards how the EU teams are playing, but that's maybe a topic for another time. The way that TSM are normally going to play on Ascent is with this double smoker kind of composition, which personally I'm not a fan of, but again, that's for another time. Normally they would run Haze on the Sage. That's basically the only difference that you would see on other maps. But all right, so starting out here, you might be saying, well, Josh, why aren't you analyzing this first half? Because clearly Sentinels won this map on defense. They were incredible on the defense. And I think that's a fair point. But the way that the defense actually played out was less strategically interesting than how Sentinels, just generally speaking, dealt with the AWP across the two maps that they played, Ascent and Bind. So that's really what I'm going to be focusing on, is how Sentinels dealt with Wardell's AWP, or the threat of Wardell and Sabrosa double AWPing, actually, when it came to Bind. On defense, to break it down for you, to set the scene a little bit, they did a great job winning the pistol round. They actually won all 4 of the pistol rounds that were required in this match, which is a huge boon, obviously, which completely stops the economy going. And economy focus is a huge thing that I'm going to talk about as well. But over the course of their defense, they did a good job just pushing out a little bit, like these mini pushes, in order to get intelligence over on B and over on A. And they had 2 fantastic clutches. One coming in from Dapper, which was amazing, like a 2v1 or rather 1v2 clutch to be able to take a round that completely should not have gone to them. And another one which was like a 2v3 clutch over on the A site, which was superb as well. You know, if those go the other way, then actually what we're looking at is more of like a 7-5 half, where yes, Sentinels were the better team, but it wasn't anything outstanding. So I do think that Sentinels did a great job in defense, but this attacking side is much more interesting to me. And the reason it's more interesting really is because Wardell is more of a threat when he's going to be defending with this AWP. Because although on the defense you can sit passive and not just give him the shots, you can force them to push in through choke points. When you're attacking, you're basically just going to have to run into those sightlines unless you play really smart with your utility. So let's take a look at where we're at currently. We're in the 3rd round of the Sentinels attacking half, which means that it's time for the rifles to get going. And Wardell has been saving, so he has the AWP available. Sentinels are really good at being able to track the economy. It's absolutely important. It's imperative if you want to be able to beat TSM. And so they know that this AWP is a possibility. So they're going to run a really good B-take execute here. And what I love about this execute is not just the utility and not just the way in which they actually execute it, but the timing of it, because you need to time these great executes with when you know Wardell is going to have the AWP. That's when they'll have the most impact, because they'll crush the economy of TSM coming afterwards. I'll talk about that more later on Bind. As for now, let's just take a look at the execute. So to run you through what's going to happen, I'm going to pull up the minimap a little bit more here. And basically what we're going to see is a blind coming out from Zombs as Dapper puts down a cage on the entrance of B main. And then we're going to see a double shock dart coming out from Sinatra, and they're going to go and kind of land right where Cutler is standing now, although it's Wardell that ends up being over there. A camera is going to come out to be able to scout Boathouse, and they just use this to be able to get the entrance onto the site. So let's watch it all play out. I'll bring you back to the main screen. You can see at the bottom of your screen here, Sinatra is about to be firing these shock darts as soon as the round opens, because they need travel time to be able to land. And already this blind has come out, right? Immediately the Omen has blinded towards B main. as the shock darts are being sent, and Dapper is running into B main. These guys are blinded, obviously, on the defense, and that pushes Wardell back from any kind of aggressive AWPing that he was going to do, or really any aggressive rifling that was going to be done at all to take control of B main. So this blind has come in. Now the cyber cage is up as well, so even if Wardell had just backed off to, you know, this kind of angle, there's absolutely no chance that he's going to be able to set up. And the double shock dart is about to come in, which knocks him down to 59 and then 16 health. He's honestly lucky to survive. And they're reading that if anyone goes for the wall bang, you know, that classic one that kind of is like a direct sight line right down from the little dog that's on the wall that catches everybody in B main. If anyone tries that kind of play, they would get hit by the shock darts. If anyone's falling back from the blinds, they would get hit by the shock darts as well. So it's a beautiful set play to be able to take control of B main without a single shot being fired. So, as they start to back off towards the point, with Wardell in a much more difficult position, you'll see a couple of things happening. So, first of all, Dapper, who is here, is going to put a cam over on this angle, which is this one that's lit up yellow at the moment. I'm just going to show you guys on the minimap where that is able to scout. Is going to be able to see everything in Boathouse. So if anybody was hiding there, they would have vision of it. So they are just narrowing down where the defenders can even be holding at all. The other thing Dapper's going to do is lay down another cyber cage, which is going to allow them to enter. Normally you don't want to be pushing in through a smoke if the smoke is right where the choke point is, but if the smoke extends further than the choke point, then it actually creates more angles for the defenders to try and hold. At the same time, they're going to be shooting in a recon dart, which you can see here coming out from Sinatra. And this recon dart is beautiful because not only does it catch a lot of the angles on site, but it also catches people that are trying to push from market as well, which is fantastic, as you'll see here, because it just completely catches Hazed unawares. So as Hazed is in market, he realizes that push is coming in. So another thing to note as well here is that Shazam is sorry, not Shazam. It's Sick who's playing the Sage now for Sentinels. Sick has boosted himself up. This is the classic boost that's on top of the orb box. Sorry, let me take the minimap off your screen there for a moment. As these guys are coming in, so Cyber Cage has gone down. That has allowed them all to run in here, and Sick has boosted himself up as well. All of this happening within the first 10 seconds of the round. All of this utility getting used. And this boost allows him to look through the window to all of these players who are running away. They're all recon darted up as well, having taken damage from the shock darts that were thrown in as well. They got blinded. They've just been assailed by utility. And you can see how easy it is for these guys to be able to enter with this cyber cage active as well. And you can actually see, I didn't even realize that, you can see the boost as well over here. Now, again, Hazed here should be able to get a really good sightline, right? If he's pushing from market, he blinds, he should be able to find a fantastic angle onto all of these guys. The problem is, this recon bolt that was put up on the other side of the point has been able to get him. And so, even though these guys are blinded, you can still see people who are tagged up with a recon dart when you're nearsighted. So, he gets spammed through the walls by Sinatra, who's running the Ares. Cutler goes down from Sick, who's boosted, and they've just busted in onto the site. Busted in. They have just opened this wide open, cracked it like a ripe nut. And 4 players are on site. 1 player is watching the flank, and there are only 2 people left alive to be able to try and hold this. It's an absolutely crushing offense. It's beautifully executed, all within 10 seconds. Everyone is synced really well up, and it just demolishes the entirety of TSM. And crucially, it's at the perfect time to cripple their economy, because TSM were relying on the win in this round to be able to keep their orb going into the next. So, drone here is just completely ruined, and I'm going to play out the next round as well, which is the final round, because it's so important how they continue this into the next. Because although that was a brilliant execute to take the rifle out of Wardell's hands, TSM are definitely going to be force buying here, and so they need to keep up this pressure. You know, they could give as many rounds as they like to TSM at this point, considering it's 12-3, but I love the way that they follow up with another great execute. And you can see it's a broken buy coming out from TSM. It's not the greatest in the world, but Sentinels keep the pressure up. So this previous round, and also the pistol round was on B with a very similar execute. So with the pistol round being a heavy B execute and round 3, the first rifle round being a heavy B execute, that is exactly what TSM are going to be predicting here. So they actually move 3 players over to B, or more accurately, they move 2 players over to B. They have 1 in market and 1 playing mid, honestly. But crucially, they only leave 1 on A. That's the important part about this round, because the Sentinels, they read this completely. They fake the same utility control of B main. They throw the same blind down there. You can see them set up in a similar kind of manner. And then they take mid instead. So take a look at the minimap here. We won't even bother looking at the screen, honestly. But look, this is the exact same blind coming out that just pushes all the way down. And they're faking control of B main. The players for TSM are playing passive now because they don't want to get hit by that blind again. But it's all right. Sentinels, they're actually making their way towards mid. Hayes has been caught with a recon dart, I think that was, and has to push back a little bit. And they've pushed back these mid players. They've pushed back these mid players so that there are now 2 players stuck in market. I say stuck. Drone is actually going to ult out of here. But there's 2 players in market, and there's 2 players on B. And watch the utility that gets used here, because the Sentinels, they now know that these players are here. They can hear this ult come out, so they know there's a Phoenix there. They don't challenge, obviously. They just hold angles. They've already pushed back the Omen, so they know the Omen is there. Then they see the Sova, so they know there's at least 3, and they've already know that the Cypher normally plays over on the B side. So, worst case scenario, there's 2 players holding over at A. So immediately, decisively, they decide to go catwalk to A. It's, as long as they trade out, which Sentinels are good at, they are going to be able to get in on the A site for free. But I also love this little thing that they throw in here as well. They slow the back of CT area. They slow around here. And normally that's a tell that people are going to try and execute a B push, because that slow, the only purpose of it is so that you can't kind of get flanked from behind when your players are pushing market. So this implies to the B players that they're still committed to executing this B push. Now, remember, as far as the TSM players holding B are concerned, they've taken B main with blind, and they've now pressured mid. So this looks like a classic B split to them. Instead, though, they're moving towards catwalk. Now they actually use their explode. I can't even remember what it's called, aftershock or something. They use their breach utility in mid as well, and they also use their owl drone down there as well. So they are really heavily faking a B push. But they move decisively down catwalk. Flash doesn't quite work. So Sabrosa manages to kill 2, which is more than you'd expect. But Sick is there with the res anyway. So they've basically traded 1 for 1. And now they're in a 4v4 with full control over the A side. They used Cypher ult as well just to make sure that there isn't a second player over at A. Remember that I said that could be a possibility. Wardell gets cut off by the wall because he feels like he has to make a play, because otherwise this round is just stuff. It's actually quite difficult to run A retakes on Ascent. And this is basically done now. This is done. These players are trying to come in over the top of Balk, and they're going to fall so quickly because the retakes are just super difficult. So that's how they wrapped up Ascent. I think a great understanding of when to use these heavy executes, and clearly got great coordination with when they want to use them as well. So let's take a look at Bind. Bind I'm going to break down in a bit more detail. So I know that you guys have been here watching for like 15 minutes already, but we're going to crack through. There's a lot of information to take away from this match. So, again, we're going to check in on them, but this time it's going to be with the Sentinels on the attacking half. They're going to start out on Bind with attack, and we're going to look again at this round 3. I'm not going to take too much time to focus on the pistol rounds, even though they did win all the pistol rounds. I'll leave that to someone else to break down. My focus was more on the rifle rounds. So, again, they know it's round 3. This is the first rifle round. Wardell is going to have that orb. So they need some kind of heavy execute. And normally, if you want to be running a heavy execute that breaks AWPers on Bind, that means you're going to be looking towards the B site. You can get some nice executes off, but you are still much more vulnerable to the AWP. You can't really burst onto the site in the same way that you can as on B. Plus, the retakes are easier with AWP on A. So, that means that we're going to go towards hookah. And the first thing that the Sentinels do is take early control of Sand, and they're just going to trade kills in hookah. They're not going to do anything fancy. They're just going to immediately cam, and they are camming this normal angle. They see drone. This is also where Wardell would like to aggressively AWP as well. So they've cammed this off. They know whether or not there's somebody holding here. They spot drone. You know, he breaks the cam, but that's okay. That's absolutely valuable. Dapper does this every round as well, just to make sure that there's nobody holding that that aggressive angle. Sinatra's going to go in, and they trade out Sinatra. And that's so important. At the same time, if we look at the minimap here, what you'll see is that Shazam and Sick have gone over to B long, and they are going to drone down B long just to clear that angle as well. And although this is a sign that there is a B execute going to come out, the Sentinels actually sometimes fake this too. So it's not as much of a read as you might imagine. So this is how they're going to take control of B here.
To stop this. Drone coming out from
So the slow goes down as well from Sick, just in case anybody tries to challenge at B long. And now that the players are up B long without any difficulties, they're going to try and take control of Hookah. Flash comes out. Sinatra was fantastic in this map, but ends up not quite getting that. But it doesn't matter because they get the trade. And yeah, they lose a player and gain a player, but they've got control of Hookah now just by getting that trade. Now, in the meantime, Wardell is actually holding the cubby, and he's managed to find a pick over on Sick, over towards B long. So that's not great, but look at how they flush out Wardell. They know where he is. A recon dart goes out there. You didn't quite see the recon dart, but you can see it on the minimap right now where it landed. That was Shazam, threw it from B long towards the back of site. That catches Wardell when he's in cubby, and they're also going to use a Brim Molotov as well. Not that they need it. It's actually just with Wardell being tagged up, they know that Wardell has to move, because if he just continues to hold the angle, you're just going to be able to peek him and insta-kill him, because you can pre-fire it because you know where he is, because you can see him through walls. Or you could wallbang him, but normally you would just pre-fire him, especially from an angle like this. And so what they do is, once they've already forced Wardell off the angle, Shazam takes the angle up, as you can see here, and just kills him as he repeaks. Now, if that had failed, or if they had wanted to play it even more safely, they could have synced that up with a molly, which you now see just landing at his feet. So Wardell was dead either way here, even if Shazam doesn't hit the shot. So if Sentinels had wanted to play that a little more safely, if they hadn't been feeling as confident, Wardell definitely would have still died in this position. In the meantime, I want to point out something that happened on defense here. Sabrosa actually did push out of showers, which I like. They cleared space once they realized that people were pushing towards B, but he just walks all the way around here. There's no sense of urgency whatsoever. So basically, the TSM are down a player in this entire time, which sets up for a 3v2 on the site. And they essentially just trade out kills. Hazed is boosted on top of his wall, manages to kill Zoms, but Dapper is there to be able to trade the kill because he now knows exactly where Hazed is playing from. Shazam spots out Cutler, and Cutler ends up falling. And now Sabrosa, who's gone on this enormous flank with no sense of urgency, is set up in a 1v2, which he does actually manage to find the first kill, but he doesn't have any idea where Shazam has repositioned himself and ends up going down. This is a really nice hardcore execute onto B to be able to flush out the AWP. The next round, eco loss. And there were so many eco losses on this map, because once you break the AWP setup, it costs them so much money to be able to get it that you are almost guaranteed to break the economy. So if you find the pivotal rounds where the economy is in balance and you break them, then you are just going to bank up a series of eco losses as well. Now, round 5, the one that I've skipped here, was a double AWP win for Wardell and Sabrosa, but they managed to do enough damage to the economy anyway that Hazed, Cutler are back down to 0 credits. And if they win this round, round 6, then next round is going to be a bit of a broken buy. The next round will be a complete eco loss. So remember, Sentinels are keeping track of the economy this entire time as well. So after losing the last round to a double AWP setup, they want to increase the pace. Previously in round 5, the Sentinels just ran a default attack, and they just got picked off by Sabrosa. They got picked off by Sabrosa in showers, I think, and Wardell over at B. So instead, they want to increase the pace. So they run a 3-2 split on B again between Hookah and Long. It's a pretty similar setup as, to the one that they did last time. But now they also have Sinatra's ult to be able to work with. And I want to point out what they do so well in this round, because you don't necessarily need to kill the AWPers to make it really difficult for them. But if you bust into a site like B that's difficult to retake, and you make them retake with AWPs, it becomes almost impossible. So the Sentinels' aim here is to run a fast execute that takes control of the bomb site and pushes TSM off the site. And once they force TSM to retake, they can feel pretty confident about their chances of winning, because retakes with AWPs on B, yeah, ain't doing it, basically. So let's take a look. What they're going to do here is, again, Dapper with his little cam up top, just to check out this angle. They actually don't see Wardell because Wardell's aware that Dapper is running this cam. So Wardell doesn't take the very aggressive angle. He takes an off angle, which is a nice adaptation from Wardell to start with. Now, weirdly, he moves back into the main angle, but he doesn't want to be pushed up. He doesn't want to take this angle too wide. Otherwise, there's the potential for him to get punished. So he takes a very, very tight angle, and he misses the shot there. Maybe a little unusual for Wardell, but okay, you know, he's only human and he's holding a tiny little crack. So he's backed off now. They've got hookah control basically for free. They went through all the right motions to be able to check whether Wardell was there. It's possible that they would have lost a player trying to take hookah control, but still, it's really good from Sentinels. And now they've got control of hookah. Now, once they have control of hookah, they are going to be ulting out and smoking. So the smokes just go down in what you would consider to be the most default places if you're just trying to take control of the site. A smoke here, you're aiming to push people back into elbow and back halls and take control of the site. The savvy ones among you may have noticed that Drone is hiding in a corner. We'll address that in a little bit. But the important thing to note immediately is that Sinatra is going to try and ult out. This Phoenix ult controls so much space. It just allows you to take map control because no one wants to face it. You don't want to try and take an aim duel against Sinatra because even if you don't lose, even if you just take a bunch of damage from it, then he just respawns with full health, and so you've wasted your time. So most teams will just try and disengage against the Phoenix ultimate, which makes it a great ult to be able to take control of sites like this. Now, as Sinatra pushes out, they use two ults to stop the rest of the team following the Phoenix ult, because obviously what Dapper and what Zombs would love to do here is just run out of hookah with him and use all of this free space that Sinatra has bought them. But they use the Hunter's Fury to block these players. The Hunter's Fury just slices its way in between Sinatra and the rest of the team, which stops them advancing. I'll show you guys from the main point of view here as well. You can see the players just kind of caught on either side of it. This kind of buys a bit of space for the rest of the team. And they also use a Brimstone ult here as well onto hookah. So attempts at being able to find kills or slow down the push come out here from TSM, which is a pretty nice reaction. In the meantime as well, the aggressive team, Sentinels, Zombs has used his Brim ult in back of sight as well, which is just aimed to flush people out into Sinatra's ultimate. Okay, so to summarize, Sentinels have taken control of hookah. They've pushed in aggressively with Sinatra's ult. There's been some decent counterplay from TSM, but basically mission accomplished. Sentinels have got control over the site. They've also done this, the classic play that we saw from the previous execute, where they drone down long, and they have tagged Hazed with the drone. So that provides a player for Sinatra to get onto. You can see here that Hayes has been tagged up by the drone. Sinatra's going to wrap around and find that pick. Now, Drone himself has not been scouted out of here, though the Owl drone went up the B long from Shazam, though... Yeah, sorry, the player I was trying to highlight there was Hayes. You can see him tagged up by the drone. Though Shazam did push up with his Owl drone, he didn't check this teleporter side. So it's a really nice little angle. It's really like a one-and-done angle for Drone, but he does have the flash to be able to try and get multiple kills. This time, though, he doesn't even get spotted out. Gets both of the kills. Fantastic situation. So you got to say, all right, it's a 4v3 here in favor of TSM. Surely they win this round. But it's not to do with the numbers. It's to do with the plan from the Sentinels. And the plan from the Sentinels was to get control of site. And they got control of site perfectly here. And so the retake, as it attempts to come in from Wardell with his AWP, they are smoked out. They are mollied out. It is really difficult for them to be able to get an angle back into this bomb site.
Wow, any peeks from the operator.
So you can see these guys are just free to run onto the site from hookah. They have complete and utter control of the bomb site. They are surrounded a little bit, but they can feel pretty confident because the retakers are coming back in with an AWP from Sabrosa, an AWP from Wardell. They only really have to worry about the two riflers unless Wardell and Sabrosa go insane.
Meanwhile, you can see it's going to be an elbow push coming in.
Cypher ult popped out. A flash in from Drone. They know where Drone is. Dapper pushes him. I mean, he's a bit lucky to be able to get that kill when he was fully flashed. But I don't think the Drone was likely to get the frag either because Dapper was just playing around the side. And in the meantime, if you look at the minimap, Sinatra has taken the opportunity to actually push Wardell. So they're not allowing them any space and time to be able to set up the retake. They're not allowing time for Sabrosa to meet back up with the team. They want to push. They want to keep the pressure on. And that doesn't mean just running into them willy-nilly, but it does mean continuing to harass them at the choke points. And Sinatra gets the pick on Wardell. Dapper gets the kill on Cutler as he tries to come in. And this control of the site has been fantastic for the Sentinels. Really good execute, really good control of the choke points, keeping the pressure on TSM. And take a look at this buy. The buy in round 7 coming out here, you'll see, is really broken for TSM. They can't afford to buy the AWPs because they need to spread the wealth across the rest of the... Oh, well, actually, they do buy an AWP. I forgot that they bought an AWP in this round. But they basically have 2 people on like Sheriff buys here just to put Wardell on another AWP because that is the win condition for TSM. They only win when they can get picks with that AWP. So, what would you do here again? If you have any inkling that Wardell could buy an AWP, which it's possible because Drone finished the round with 4,500, what do you do? Well, the answer here is to fake the B hit. You know that they're going to be paranoid about the B hit coming out. So, let's pull up the minimap and you'll see that Shazam fakes, so they do the same slow that stops the B-long players pushing, the same drone up to be able to clear B-long, but it also gives some idea to TSM that there might be a B hit coming on. But in the meantime, all of their players are actually creeping towards A short, and they have positions as if they're going to cover A short. So the defenders think this is going to be a B hit. Actually, Sentinels running a bit more of a default, just making sure that they control anybody that would be pushing up short, pushing up showers. They're clearly, from our point of view, going to be heading for an 8 hit here. They're not going to use any utility to take short, which I like. Normally, this would be a little risky against Wardell, but because you're confident in the fake being sold, you don't want to announce your presence on A and allow time for that rotate to come in. So you believe in the efficacy of your own fake, you creep your way up short, and what they do here is that they, if we take a look at the minimap, they set up a cam, and this cam is aimed to tag any AWPer that would be playing in heaven. And again, if you're tagged, you're going to fall off your angle. It's a little like getting shot or smoked or something. You can use the Cypher cam and the Sova recon dart and Sova drone to be able to push AWPers off their angle. This is a great counter to the AWPer meta that people have been talking about. So that's what that cam is designed to do. And they're going to basically burst onto the site. To describe how their push looks, they're going to wall off on lamps. They're going to smoke basically a wall of smokes to try and separate front sight from back of sight. And then they're going to take fights in the back of sight. They're going to flush out showers and take fights in the back of sight to lock the rotators into a really difficult retake position. So let's watch this actually play out. Recon Dart comes out as well to scout anybody that would be playing in back of sight. The wall of smokes goes down. Wall is up on lamps as well. You can see that then they don't have to worry about lamps whatsoever. The player that they do have to worry about is somebody in showers. So they're specifically going to send Sinatra and Sick over towards there to clear out showers. I think Cutler misplays this by making it so easy for Sick to just clear Cutler out. If Cutler had stayed alive for longer, that definitely would have been a thorn in their side. I think it's imperative to keep control of showers in this position. But, okay. They push into showers, they clear that guy, so there's no backstab. Sabrosa, who was playing backside, is going to go for a bit of a cheeky pick because he thinks that people are going to be set back up into passive post-plant positions. He doesn't realize that Sentinels are actually playing for control over back of sight. And look what happens here. They find a pick on Wardell, who was playing, who had rotated over to that heaven position, and they are going to try and control areas. There's a rotate. They're going to wall off. They're going to resurrect so that this actually becomes a 4v3. But Sinatra's going to try and fight over this back of sight position so that he makes it difficult for the retakers. They have to, instead of having access to back of sight for free, they have to fight over entrance through metal and entrance through heaven. And this was something that Sentinels did quite badly against Gen G, but they definitely learnt from in their quarterfinal game against Gen G. When they played against Gen G, they were just taking control of front of side, not really pushing deep, and the retakes were coming in way too easily, just retaking for free, because they had the utility advantage. But when you push back of sight like this, you make it really difficult for the retakers to get in for free, especially when they have orbs. And remember, that's the entire concept of what the Sentinels are going for. They want to make it difficult for the orbs. Bit of a flash, peek, Wardell wasn't caught. But okay, this is donezo. Absolutely done. And round 8 is now going to be an eco loss, because Wardell's been picked, they can't save the AWP, and they go into the next round with only a single weapon. So, total devastation. And if you take a look at this, so round 3 was a loss, round 4 was an eco loss, round 6 and 7 were losses, which has set up round 8 to be an eco loss. And now we get into round 9, which is, again, another really pivotal round for the economy of TSM. They are down to basically nothing again. So if Sentinels are able to come up with a good fast execute here, they'll again get another eco round loss in the next round. And that puts them at a 9-round win overall. That's absolutely dominant for an attacking side on Bind. It's absolutely dominant. So this is another crucial round for the Sentinels. This is one to put all of your marbles in, expend all the ultimates, although they don't really have any to work with, but expend all of your resources to make sure that this one works out. So what do they do in this round? They go for a fast B hit again.
We've seen a big comeback from TSM. I'm worried that all the things we were worried about, like all those,
they're putting 3 players over on B, despite the fact that the last rifle round saw a hit on A. Again, the same cam comes up to be able to scout that first angle.
I think we're kind of seeing that. We're seeing what can happen.
The slow is down here to stop any aggression down B long. Again, this drone is coming up B long as well. This is just the default execute for the Sentinels. They're trying to take control of Hookah. Sinatra flashes in, sees that there's nobody controlling Hookah. He's got to be a bit worried about an AWPer playing at the back of here.
Because it's such a good squad.
But they just want to keep the pace on. They want to keep running. So we are only 10 seconds into the round, and Sinatra has already taken control of Hookah. And he's not too worried, honestly. If he runs into somebody in a weird angle and dies, or if he runs into an AWPer or something, there's always 2 guys behind him to trade the kills. And Sentinels, they are good at trading kills. They are always there to back each other up. It's a fundamental of Valorant, of CS, but so many teams suck at it. But the Sentinels are actually pretty good. So Sinatra hasn't spotted anybody here. The smokes are going down. This is a really pacey play. He flashes in. He actually sees Sabrosa hiding underneath him. This is just, I don't know, maybe a bit of a tilt play coming out from Sabrosa, like a real all-in kind of strategy, hiding right underneath there. He gets caught by the flash. There's no stuff to be able to peek with. These guys are just now stuck in long. They would have loved to go for an aggressive play and actually flush out B long and maintain control of that so that they can retake afterwards. But the slow orb coming out from Sick early on in the round stops any of those kind of aggressive maneuvers. So now they're just stuck here. The drone has already caught Hazed again, so Hazed is going to go down. Sinatra's caught 2. Dapper is there onto drone because they're just in horrible positions because they weren't actually able to get aggressive on B long. And this default execute again finds value, and Wardell is left retaking in the 9th round with his AWP. They chase him down, they get the kills, they remove the AWP from his hands, and the Sentinels win the next one via an eco win to go up 9-3 on the attacking side. They are dominant against these AWP teams. Dominant. Now, also, there are... Let's take a look at the... Where's the scoreboard here? Okay. After you get rid of the pistol and the eco after the pistol, there's essentially 10 rifle rounds in the first half. Now, 4 of these rounds were fast hits from the Sentinels in crucial economic rounds that resulted in 3 eco round losses. So out of the 10 rounds that TSM had to play with, they invest so heavily in these AWPs that 3 of their rounds are eco losses, because 4 of the really important economy rounds that are swing rounds that decide the economy were dominated by these fast pushes from the Sentinels that counter the AWP setups. So they essentially won 6 rounds just by having good executes at important times. That's nuts. That's incredibly good stuff coming out from the Sentinels. And it shows you that they understand how to play against a team like TSM.